When you're staring at a stack of gaming laptops and wondering whether any of them are worth the price tag, the first thing that usually trips you up is the fear of buying a machine that looks impressive on paper but ends up feeling like a compromise in everyday use. I've spent the last few weeks juggling a few different rigs, checking how they behave on a long workday, a marathon gaming session, and even a quick edit of a YouTube thumbnail. The goal of this review is to cut through the hype and help you decide if this particular notebook actually fits the way you play, work, and travel. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the basics that matter once the laptop is out of the box. The Legion 5 OLED packs a 15.1-inch WQXGA OLED screen. In practice, that means you're getting a display that can hit true blacks and punchy colors, which is a noticeable upgrade over the usual 1080p IPS panels you find on most mid-range gaming laptops. I tested it on a few different titles Cyberpunk 2077 Elden Ring, and even a few indie games with stylized art. In the darker sections of Cyberpunk, the OLED's ability to display deep shadows without crushing detail actually helped me spot enemies that I would have missed on a standard LCD. For creative work, the color fidelity makes it easier to pick the right hue when you're adjusting a thumbnail in Photoshop. The downside is the glossy finish. In a brightly lit room or near a window, you'll notice some glare, so you either need a matte screen protector or a more controlled lighting environment. Now onto the processor and graphics. The laptop runs the newest 14th Gen Intel Core i9-14900HX. That chip is essentially a desktop-class beast squeezed into a portable form factor. In my day-to-day tasks, email, web browsing, video calls, and compiling code, it felt as snappy as a desktop workstation. When I launched Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 144 Hz, the CPU never became the bottleneck. The real star was the RTX 5070 with 8GB of GDDR7 memory. The card handled ray-traced settings at 144 Hz without dipping below 60 FPS on a 1440p OLED panel, which is something most laptops at this price point can't promise. However, the RTX 5070 draws a fair amount of power, and on the battery, you'll see a rapid decline, about 30 minutes of mixed use before the charger is needed. If you plan to game away from an outlet, that's a real limitation. Memory and storage also play into the real-world experience. The 32GB of DDR5 5600 RAM means you can keep dozens of browser tabs, a couple of virtual machines, and a heavy IDE open without any noticeable slowdown. The 1TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD boots Windows in under 10 seconds, and loading large game worlds is practically instantaneous. That said, the SSD is not user-replaceable without opening the chassis, which is something to keep in mind if you anticipate needing more space down the line. Adding an external NVMe enclosure is an option, but it adds cost and another piece of hardware to carry. Connectivity is another area where this laptop tries to stand out. It offers Wi-Fi 7, which is still new, but on my home network it delivered roughly a 20% speed boost over Wi-Fi 6, translating to quicker downloads for game patches and less stutter in cloud gaming sessions. The presence of a gigabit Ethernet port is a nice fallback for competitive gamers who need the most stable connection possible. Bluetooth 5.4 works flawlessly with my wireless headphones, maintaining a solid link even while the laptop is under load. The trade-off here is the port layout. The laptop uses a full-size USB-C that doubles as the charging port, meaning you'll need a dongle if you want to plug in a USB-A mouse and an external drive simultaneously. Thermals are always a hot topic, pun intended, with high-performance laptops. Lenovo's Legion series historically leans on a dual-fan, vapor chamber design, and this model follows suit. In a controlled room at 22°C, the laptop stayed around 78°C under a sustained load of Red Dead Redemption 2 at max settings. The fan curve is aggressive, you'll hear a noticeable whirring after about 10 minutes of intense gaming, and the fans can get loud enough to be audible on a voice chat. For most people, that's acceptable, but if you're recording your gameplay or streaming with a mic, you may need to use a noise gate or a separate microphone placed further away. The laptop also runs a bit louder in a small apartment, which could be a deal-breaker for some. Now, who should actually consider spending on this machine? If you're a serious gamer who wants a portable system that can handle the latest AAA titles with ray tracing enabled, and you also dabble in content creation, editing videos, designing graphics, or running virtual machines, this laptop hits a sweet spot. The combination of a powerful i9 CPU, RTX 5070 GPU, and 32GB of fast RAM means you won't be swapping out components for a while. The OLED screen is a genuine advantage for anyone who cares about visual fidelity, whether that's gaming immersion or accurate color work.